On today's episode, I have another human being with me. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hats Off to You, a show about a man with an affinity for hats who has yet to wear a hat on his show called Hats Off to You. To rectify the situation, I am now wearing headgear, and my friend here is also wearing headgear. I'm very honored and happy and privileged to have this gentleman here with me, Jurd, IR Craziest Taxi, as he's known in some circles. Say hi to the people, Jurd.
Hello, people.
All right. And reason why he's here is because we're going to switch it up every so often, right? We're going to talk shop sometimes. This episode may not be for you. It probably is. You just don't realize it. We're going to talk about Pokemans today. That's right. We're celebrating the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon. Came out yesterday. That's why there was not a video yesterday, because we were binging out on it. Wanted to talk about a little as far as like kind of giving a little bit of a review, kind of talking about some of the points, how some of the little changes they made. But really what I wanted to talk about, why I wanted to get another person's insight, is because I know how I play Pokemon, right? But everybody plays it differently. If you're watching a YouTube video, you probably know how Pokemon works. You go on a morally ambiguous quest as a preteen or adolescent youth, capturing and training these Poke monsters to fight other trainers with these Poke monsters to become the best one in your given region where the game plops you down at. And in my day there was 151 of them, and now there's like 800 some odd something.
I forget.
We don't have an exact stat. It's greater than 800, I can tell you that. So I mean, there's tons of them, and of course there's all the different typings, and many of them have they change typings as they evolve. They have dual typings, and then you have the different moves that they can learn, which sometimes aren't necessarily things that you would think that they could know. So there's all these little wrinkles, and of course they all have all these totally different statistics and natures that affect their statistics, all kinds of stuff that he could tell you all kinds of stuff about. I play as Johnny Punch Things. I like to play as people who punch things, but I'm trying to get a little more involved, trying to get a little more thought process going on into it. But like I said, I wanted to get kind of explain like why I pick the type characters, the type Pokemon that I do, and why someone like Jurd would pick the type Pokemon that he would. And like I said, you might see this and you might go, well, I haven't really played Pokemon, or I don't really know much about it. It's a similar concept. It's more the psychology behind it. Why do I pick the team that I do? You can extend this out to all kinds of anything. Any sort of game that you play, any video game where you can make a decision about your character or the type of character that you use, it's similar psychology. What do you go for? So, Jurd, tell me and tell them, what do you go for when you're looking? Like, why did you decide, what was your starter when you got into Pokemon Moon? As we were the cool kids, we got the Moon version, right? So when you started, what did you look for when you got the starter?
Well, a few things went into my decision. There are a few things I look for. Mostly, their design is a big thing that plays into why I picked them. Their character design, their personality, what they look like, what they how they act, what kind of role they play, and so that's a big part of it. I also try to be a little practical with it as well. And so as they released bits and pieces of what our starters were going to look like and their evolutions, I from the start was kind of excited about Rowlet because I hardly ever go with a grass type. I figured it was time to change it up a little bit. I've already got fire types that I love and water types that I love. I hardly ever have any grass types, and the whole owl thing looks kind of cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's from the get go. Thought I'd go with Rowlet, and I did because his final evolution to me looks really cool. The whole forest guardian wraith kind of vibe going on. So and he was supposed to be a little more oriented towards attack. I usually have special attack. I needed to round out my team a little bit. So and although Incineroar kind of has the same thing going on, like I said, I like Decidueye's design a little more. So that's why I went. I tend to go for more kind of slender. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of
like agile, kind of
agile.
more
There you go.
lean and limber type.
Lean, agile types, rather than the big bulky types, is usually for whatever reason what I go for. So that's why I ended up going with Rowlet.
Where I usually go kind of the opposite of that. My guy's Litton, who I hope to have the Incineroar fairly soon, because I actually like the big bulky types, and both of our long-term lady friends took Primarina Poplio, which I really like Poplio's design. I thought it was adorable. I really wanted it because a lot of people gave Poplio a lot of crap. Really, they said that the design was weird. I thought it was freaking cute.
As especially when Primarina was released, I had a really hard time not going with Poplio.
Yeah,
but like I said, I have more than enough special on my team already.
Mm-hmm.
Like I bred a bunch of Pokemon on Pokemon X to send over to Moon, and it's all special based. So that was part of the reason I decided not to go with her. But her design is, I had a hard time not picking her.
Oh yeah. Now Poplio, the lineup through Primarina, seems to be a lot more special attack oriented. Would you say?
Yeah.
And then Incineroar and Decidueye, are they similar? I ask these things like I have no idea what I'm talking about. In part because I don't. I know you've done a lot more stat digging. But are they similar? I know obviously the typing's different. And I'm sure the stats are different. But if you had to throw a blanket over them, are they essentially similar, like kind of more physical attackers, kind of a 2, and then Primarina's on her own little island as special, or what?
So I forget their exact stats, but I think Incineroar has a little bit more physical attack on him. Tiny bit less special than Decidueye does. Decidueye is really the most balanced of all of them, which to me is kind of a double-edged sword. I wanted him to be more focused on attack and speed, and he's not, but that's okay. So it seems like Primarina's special all day, every day. Incineroar is a little more focused on physical attack and being a little more brawny, whereas Decidueye has well-rounded attack stats and has a little more special defense going for him. So
yeah, and as far as how you build your team kind of from that, when you, because the starter Pokemon is obviously your starter, and you can get to a point mid-game where you can kind of start filling it out with what you want as you see different types, but especially kind of in that 20 to 40% sort of range in the game where you're not really you're not real great at everything. You don't really have the dream team that you want, but you're still going, like, how do you kind of build your team around a Rowlet to a Decidueye? Like, what do you try to bolster that same idea, or you just try to switch it up situationally, or what how do you build your team around him, basically?
So for me, like I said, not just my starter with all Pokemon, their design plays a huge part into whether or not I want to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
But especially once you've already chosen one or two of your Pokemon, you have to start being more practical with it, whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a bunch of Pokemon that play the same role, you're not gonna get very far. It's not gonna be very easy for you at any rate. So I end up going for Pokemon who have somebody's got a little more HP or a little more defensive stats. Can throw some more status moves the opponent's way. That's good. You got to have a well-rounded team, but also it's important to have the Pokemon you like, I think, as well.
Yeah, because you start like with your first Pokemon to your second Pokemon to your third, you start to kind of follow this chain where Pokemon 1 doesn't really do, 2 kind of bolsters him, 3 kind of bolsters him, and it eventually rounds out. So you get the well-rounded team, but if you want to go in a given direction, you can still kind of build your team around an idea, but you can still kind of cherry pick things. Like right now, my team is full of a bunch of big guys. I tend to go for bigger guys. That's part of the reason I picked Incineroar. He reminds me a lot of one of the greatest video game villains ever, Senator Stephen Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising. Great game, go check it out. But I like bigger, bulkier characters, and lots of video games too. And me and him, we played a lot of co-op type video games. So, where he's always been kind of like a sniper class or like a mage class type person, somebody to kind of technically get into somebody or can set up something from across the map. I've always been the dozer, just kind of plowing through and just making a mess kind of where I can. And my route doesn't necessarily go very direct. I may not have the kill shot, but he can typically take care of it for, like, we play a lot of Smash Brothers, especially back in college, right? We played a lot of Smash Brothers, and we always use characters that complement each other. Sometimes we kind of play back and forth. Like Ganondorf was one of my big guys, and then you used him to good effect too. But I tend to use heavier set characters, and you tend to use characters that are a little bit lighter, a little bit more technical, have some little trick plays to them, And same thing. And like I said, you can broaden this out to, like, I haven't played it yet, full disclosure, but Overwatch, from what I understand, is one of those games where you have all manner of different characters. What kind of class you play in a game like Elder Scrolls, the kind of perks that you give your character in a game like Fallout, and what special stats you attribute. You can even throw something like this to, say, like a Call of Duty. I would be so bold just to say, because you have different classes in there, but guns that I would use in like Call of Duty are guns I never see anybody else use. I don't know if that's just because I'm comfortable with those, but guns that look like they have inferior stats for whatever reason are the ones I always see on the kill cams when somebody's taking me out. So I don't know if they know something that I don't know, and it might be like a stats thing where on paper it doesn't look the way that it should, it doesn't look as good as it should, but in application, and there's that line where you have theory, application, kind of, it's supposed to be this way, but when you actually get it going, it's this way, and how do you bolster around that as well. League of Legends, if you want to speak to anything on that, we got a couple minutes here.
Yeah,
I know there's all manner of characters in there like that.
Yeah, I'll go on and on about League of Legends. And it's the same kind of thing with me. Like I said, I like the more agile kind of characters, the ones that have more, like you said, some more technical side to them. They're not just pure brawn in your face, but like you said, I love going for mages. League of Legends, almost all I play is mage. I don't know why. It's just my favorite.
If that's what you're good with, that's what you're good with.
That's also why I tend to go for more special oriented Pokemon in Pokemon, is because the whole magic, the whole mage kind of thing. I just think it's a more interesting role than physical attackers are, for whatever reason.
Let's see.
But on the same side of that, you can't build your team all around one type of attack or defense. You got to have a well-rounded team, and to build off what you were saying about when we would play fighting games together and we would complement each other. You got to complement yourself when you're playing Pokemon.
Yeah, you do.
If you build a team that's all the same type of Pokemon, it's not going to be a very good team. You have to learn to branch out a little bit and play different roles, put on different hats.
Exactly. Like, I've got a bunch of sluggers, a couple different fighting types, and that sort of thing on my team that I have right now. But I also have Magnemite, who I hope soon will become a Magneton, and a Ghastly, who I hope soon will become a Haunter, who kind of fill in different roles. Like, the Haunter can kind of, do the sleep thing and kind of be my backup, my pinch hitter, if you will, for times when the bulkier guys don't really cut it. Same thing with the Magnemite. You have to kind of fill in your gaps and kind of figure things out all around. So, we're scratching the nerd itch today. Hopefully, you can take some of this. Like I said, it's as much as anything about the psychology of why you pick the things that you do. Sometimes there are certain places you go, and you think, well, everybody else is doing it this way. Well, you got to do what works for you, but you got to do something that still works. So. Sound off. Let us know what do you use? What do you use, person? Whenever you play any given game, let us know. Talk about it here. Talk about it over on the Facebook page. Hats Off to You Entertainment. That's Jared over there. I'm Jay, and we out. So until next time, stay safe out there. Good night. Hats off to you.